I hope this is an applicable conversation to people, but
I can't wait.
Man, oh man, am I sick of hearing people talk about how entrepreneurs need grit. All right, welcome to another blurb of No Followers Podcast. Blurb. I'm T. This is Bob. And Bob, I got something that's grinding my gears this week.
Wow,
welcome to another episode of What Grinds My Gears.
We should change the name of this podcast to T Rant.
This is going to be a rant. I'm sure this will be I hope this is an applicable conversation to people, but
I can't wait.
Man, oh man, am I sick of hearing people talk about how entrepreneurs need grit. They need grit. For years I've been hearing this. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be a solopreneur, if you're going to start a business, if you're going to run a business, you need grit. And I'm sorry, but that's not the word. I was thinking about why it bothers me so much.
I can't wait.
Yeah, and so really strap in for this because it's just the wrong word. It's not the right word. I get what people are trying to say, but it's not grit. Grit is, and this isn't meant to be disrespectful, but grit is more bronze than brain. Grit is, you have to work through the night in your weld shop to knock the job out and get it done. That takes grit. You have to use your brain. It's hard, but that's grit that gets you through it. Grit is being an underwater welder and you got to go under. Grit is sitting in a tank in Afghanistan when it's 130 degrees outside. You need grit to do that. You want to be a rancher in Wyoming in the winter. You need grit to do that. That is grit. What you need as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, as a founder, as a business owner, it's not grit. In my opinion, what you need is passion. And the reason that I make a distinction is because passion will carry you through. Passion will carry you through the sleepless nights. Passion will carry you through the all-nighters and the road trips and everything else you have to do. If you have passion, you will find the energy and the motivation to get through that. But you also need the analytical part to be able to differentiate between a loser project and a winner project, a good customer and a bad customer, bidding a job versus not bidding a job, taking a contract or not taking a contract, taking a buyout or not taking. That's not grit that gets you through that. Because grit is, just get through this job and get to the next thing. All right, that's grit. But that's not necessarily the right business move to position you where you want to be positioned. Grit is a short-term strategy. Grit is a short-term solution.
Are you done yet?
I could be, or I could keep going.
I think the whole episode's over already, but hey, nice job. Okay, so I hate anytime people use hackneyed terms about anything, by the way, because it's like lazy. Mm-hmm. I think any human has to have some form of grit because it's not that easy to exist.
Yeah.
It's not always fun dip and rainbows.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think all of us have grit, and sometimes we have to bring it out. It's not for entrepreneurs alone. It's for any human that has to get through something that they're battling against. So I'm not a big fan of the word grit either, not to T's level, but rarely do my rants get to T's level. But I'm going to attack the thing about passion, because passion alone does not make you successful. Passion is a great starter. It's a great attractor of other people. I think you need commitment, you need vision, you need to be able to back it up, and you need to be able to get run over and pick yourself back up. And some people describe that as grit, right? I always describe it for the people that typically get run over and get back up, which including the two of us, right?
100%, yeah.
It's about the vision that we know we have to get somewhere and that we need to go with the team we have. Like, we can say we're gritty doing this, the incubator, and everybody told us not to do it, and the podcast because two jackasses on a podcast, there's enough of those out there, but we just added to it.
Sure.
So, that whole thing where there's an article, and I think people are always trying to sell you something. And if you don't realize that most things you see, hear, and read are paid for by somebody else to get you to believe something or go buy something, that whole grit conversation is probably selling you something down the line, or they already have it in place. I just think to be an entrepreneur, you have to have the vision. You have to have some appetite for risk. And you have to be realistic by saying, this might not work. Those are the toughest conversations we have with other people. And this isn't disrespectful. And I usually come across a little blunter than you.
No.
Just a little. But it's the respect that we feel to say, this is what we see because we've already done that. So think of it differently. And some people, and we just had two we had to let go, they were completely uncoachable. They just kept wanting to do what they want to do, and that's fine. But you're not doing it here.
Yeah.
Because we've already done that in the past and lost a ton of money. Yeah. We kind of have answers around that or other ways of looking at it. So.
Yeah, you do. And I think those were good additions. I don't mean to say that I think passion is exclusively what you need, but I think when people talk about needing grit as an entrepreneur, what they mean to say are these other things, because you do need to be able to get, man, my wife said to me once, she was like, I've never seen somebody take hits like you take hits and still get back up. Like it is a different life. It's a different world. There are people rooting against you. There are people that want you to fail because it validates their life choices. It validates them playing it safe because they then get to go, thank God I never took that chance on that startup. Look what happened to him, right? They need you to fail to validate their own things. That's one thing,
That's a really good point, though, that I just want to clarify because you made a great point, T.
We can wrap it up here.
We should have as soon as you introed it, but that's a whole different story. You need people around you that will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. There are the naysayers who just want to belittle you and go against you because it's their issue. But you have to be able to discern the people that truly care about you, but still tell you what you need to hear. And some people do not think we like each other when we're arguing. But that's not true at all because we have love and respect and we have a long history together. It's the fact that we can have that open communication and then walk out the door and go have a drink and forget about it. I think that's hard for some entrepreneurs to discern.
Yeah, and
I want people to just tell me I'm right instead of tell me what I need to hear.
Yeah, and that's the process. That is the iterative process of break it down so we can build it back up. I mean, in the car and motorcycle world, that is testing and tuning. We call it shakedown runs. Build it until you think it's perfect, and then put it on the road and go pedal to the floor or wide open throttle, and things will start to break. That's the shakedown. Then you go back, you find those weak spots, you fix it, and you go back. That is what you should be doing in an incubator. That is what we aim to do, is we are the shakedown run for your idea or your product. And I agree with you, having those people around you that will say to you, honestly, this is how I see it, and I could be wrong, but they're doing it in your best interest. And like you said, knowing the risk you're taking, I said to my wife the other night, I was like, listen, if this business fails, if it goes belly up, if everything goes away, and I never sell my patents, and the bike frame never works, and I never build another motorcycle or car part again, I'll be gutted. I'll be devastated for sure. But I'm not going to let it ruin my life. And there's a choice there where you go and I said to her, I took a low probability shot. I went into this knowing this is a ginormous risk. The chances of it working out are extremely low. So you can't be upset for the rest of your life when you took a low probability shot and it went exactly that way. But you have to make that choice. And I think when people talk about grit, I think it's better said that you have to be someone that is not only okay with the risk, but you're okay with that kind of the suck of it all. And it's not just that you're okay with it, but you can learn to enjoy it. It's not fun at times. It is not fun to have people tell you that, I mean, I had a post on Instagram once where a whole bunch of strangers told me I was an idiot, essentially. One guy, I saved it. My wife and I look at it, and the guy said, the biggest flaw in your bicycle design is you. And, and then you click on their profile and like, it's an 18-year-old kid in North Dakota. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to move on with my night. That's not going to ruin my day. That's not grit. That's being analytical. That's being a critical thinker. That's making an active decision to go, yeah, sometimes things suck when you work. There was 1 week, 2 weeks ago where out of 96 available hours in 4 days, I was here at the shop for 80 of them, which means I was at home and slept a total of 4 hours per day each day. That's not fun. It stops being romantic after, I don't know, year 1 maybe. I'm in year 10.
Day one.
You know, the romance of it goes away. But that's not grit. That's going, okay, at the end of the day, I'm going to put a product out that has my brand on it and my name on it, and I have to be proud of it, and it has to move my company forward. And so therefore, this is what we have to do to hit that milestone. Let's do it. Let's move on. That's more than grit. Like I said, I think grit is when you have to do something you don't want to do, but you're not really like a vested stakeholder in it. Like your boss calls you in and says, hey, I need you to climb this 1,000-yard high tower and change the light bulb on top of it. That's going to take grit to do that. But
or delegation.
Yeah. You know, but that's not the same as being an entrepreneur. You know what I mean? That's not the same as what it takes. I think you said it very well. I think passion goes a long way. It gets you through those long nights. It gets you through the loneliness of it. But also having a team, being a critical thinker, having vision for where you want to go so you can delineate between, hey, does making this bottle opener get me closer to the brand build I need it to do? It's not just grit. You know, it's I don't even think it's grit that gets you through the night. It's more than that. It's much more than that. So that's my rant, man.
I mean, those simplistic articles that you don't learn anything from really just annoy me.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I said I was done, but I'm not. If you're talking about grit, and this is going to upset people, and I don't care, and you're like, it took grit for me to build my software while I coded in my air-conditioned, temperature-controlled room with my headphones on and listen to my house music, and I coded for 28 hours nonstop, and that took grit, you can leave. You can get out of here. We're not talking about at all the same thing. That's just another personal gripe. You know,
I disagree with that because building anything is hard.
Building anything is hard.
We picked the harder side doing hard goods, but it's still hard to build.
But that's not grit.
It's not grit to build the hard goods we're building over there. It's not grit.
Well, I don't think I know, but I'm saying like if that's what you're coming from, that grit is you got to code through the night. That's not grit. Pardon my language. It's just you got a job to do. You got it done. Like that's what it is, and it's not. You know, I think that grit.
Is that off your chest now, grit?
I do feel a little better now. I feel a little better now. Don't. You know.
I'm printing some T-shirts that say grit.
Yeah.
First Strike Incubator. Is that all right?
Yeah. Don't put me down. Don't put me down for.
I already bought you one.
Don't
extra
get me
small.
Don't get me a medium on that one.
All right, I think T got it off his chest.
Oh, thanks. I feel better.
So another therapy session at No Followers Podcast with Bob and T, and we'll see you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe.